Hey Mantas, today we've made this shift. We're going to talk about social structures. This is Unit 7. Now, the social structures unit introduces students to the roles of people within societies and how those roles impact their daily lives. Students will analyze social structures from various ancient civilizations to determine the effect social classes has on a person's political and economic power. They will also determine how the hierarchies found within ancient civilizations represented the beliefs and the values of people within each civilization. Objective, obviously, is to summarize systems of social structures within various civilizations and societies over time. And the essential question for today is, how did a civilization's social hierarchy determine the rights and responsibilities of its people? Today, completing and analyzing social structures questions, you're going to use the information in the analyzing social structures of Google Slideshow and type your answers. Now, you don't have to write your answers in complete sentences, but make sure you fully answer the questions. Please type your answers in a different color so they stand out. Your exit ticket is built into that. It's after viewing various social hierarchy charts, reflect on your findings by completing the question. Now, let me pull this over here so we can actually see what this looks like. All right, ancient hierarchy charts. Now, what is a hierarchy? It's a system of organization in which people or groups are ranked one above the other according to status or authority. Now we're going to compare some of these just in showing them. Ancient Mesopotamia was pretty simple. You had high priests and nobles, officials, scribes and minor priests, craftsmen, and then at the bottom were servants, laborers, and peasants. Ancient Egyptian hierarchy, pharaoh, you had your visors, seniors, officials, high priests, and nobles. Underneath those guys were the scribes. Then you had skilled artisans and craftspeople. And you had peasants, farmers, and workers. And at the very bottom were like servants and slaves. And here's in medieval Japan, you had emperor, shogun, daimyos, samurai, ronin, peasants, artisans, and merchants. Now notice this interesting dynamic here of peasants, which are really farmers and fishermen, were held to be sort of more important and in a higher social hierarchy than merchants and salespeople. All right. Mayan social structure, very religious here. So you got the Haliguric. This was a hereditary position and passed down from the father to son only, sort of like the king. Batabs, these are all chosen from the noble class, so the post was also hereditary. They were to see to it that the laws, taxes, and policies were enforced. It's sort of like a bureaucracy. You had your priesthood under that, usually through the astronomers and astrologers and mathematicians were from this group here. Then poplums, the merchants and traders, these were often used as suspected of being spies who carried information from one city to another. And peasants, the majority of Mayans were farmers who grew corn, beans, and squash. Men cultivated while women made food. They paid taxes in food and helped build the temples. This is Mayan. And finally, ancient Rome. Patricians were at the top, which were the wealthy landowners, the leading class. The consuls, the senate, the praetors, which were the judges, descendants of founding fathers, and could veto and vote on laws. Plebeians, lower class, ordinary citizens, have to pay taxes. One common job a plebeian had was the shop owner, and they could not lead in government. The freedmen couldn't have jobs like craftsmen and traders, free from slavery, had little rights, but they could own small shops and farms. And at the bottom there in the Roman hierarchy were slaves, who had many jobs like mines, factories, farming, building roads, could pay to get out of slavery, but took many years to save up to pay to get out of slavery. So that really concludes social hierarchy. So today, Mantas, let's show you what this is going to look like. Now you're going to have to put your thinking caps on for this. Let me move this over. So the document you pulled up, now it's editable by you. It's your own copy, so you should be able to just type it in. And if not, obviously, what you do with science is you go ahead and make a copy, and then it's something you can use. But it should be something live for you to do right now. You're going to use the social pyramids on the slideshow to answer the following questions. You're going to look at the social pyramids for each civilization and answer the questions. What is a hierarchy? It's the first slide, right? The ancient Mesopotamia's social structure. What does the top section of the pyramid represent? What information did you use to come to that answer? What do you think some differences are between the official scribes, minor priests level, and the craftsman level? Like think education, think, some of those things like that. What do you think a difference is between high priests and minor priests? Kind of implied in the title. And we're going to, hang on a sec. Examining the social structure of Japan and the Mesopotamia social structure diagram, what differences do you see in how much power the second highest position had in each society? We do a little comparison there. Ancient Egypt. Who's at the top of this hierarchy? Who's at the bottom of this hierarchy? How are the populations at the top and the bottom different within the hierarchy? And then how does the political and economic power a person has depend on their social class? How does this hierarchy reflect the civilization's values? Ancient Mayan. Who's at the top of this hierarchy? Who's at the bottom of this hierarchy? How are populations at the top and bottom different within the hierarchy? And how does the political and economic power a person has depend on their social class? And how does this hierarchy reflect this civilization's values? Now you're thinking of religion, you're thinking of trade, you're thinking of which one of those things is somebody more focused on in a society. Medieval Japan, why do you think so many peasants are needed? Food. What is the difference between where peasants are on the Japanese social structure and where peasants are in other social structures? Why do you think that is? Importance, maybe? According to the above diagram, who is Japan's true political leader, and what does this say about the emperor? And why do you think merchants are considered the lowest class in Japan's social structure? Describe at least one similarity and one difference between Japan's social structure and any other social structure. Roman hierarchy. Who's at the top of this hierarchy? Who's at the bottom of this hierarchy? How are populations at the top and the bottom different within the hierarchy? And how does the political and economic power a person has depend on their social class? How does this hierarchy reflect this civilization's values? This is your work. Ping me if you need help. Keep up the good work.